Thank you for purchasing an Atlantic Channel Lock 2 above-ground oval pool. Before beginning the installation process, please read the entire instruction manual and watch this video. It contains important information that's critical to completing a successful installation. This pool design is suitable for installation on a flat poured concrete base at least 3 inches or 8 centimeters thick, poured onto solid undisturbed earth. However, this video shows a normal backyard installation. Do not attempt to install it on asphalt, sand, gravel, peat moss, wood, or chemically treated soil. However, if you live in an area where nutgrass is prevalent, contact your pool dealer for further instructions. Avoid overhanging trees, power lines, or clotheslines, and check to ensure your pool is not on top of buried telephone, cable TV, water, power, or sewer lines. Local municipalities may also have regulations you must follow in determining pool location, so be sure to check with local officials. Choose a large area of your yard that's as level as possible. The pool must be installed on dry, firm, undisturbed earth. Avoid areas with poor drainage. You'll need these tools and equipment: a flat shovel or spade, a sturdy garden rake, several long metal spikes or eaves trough nails, a hammer or mallet, 3 2x2 stakes about 6 inches or 15 centimeters long, a ball of sturdy cord or twine, a 4-foot carpenter's level, 2 tape measures at least 15 feet or 5 meters long, a can of spray paint with a vertical nozzle, a roll of duct tape, a 7/16 inch socket or box wrench, a number 3 Phillips screwdriver or power drill with a Phillips bit, a surveyor's transit, and a length of straight 2x4. You will also need 1 inch or 1.5 inch 25 or 38 millimeter thick styrofoam sheets or a quantity of brick sand for the pool bottom, a quantity of crushed limestone, and several small patio stones. Preparing the pool foundation is the most critical step in the installation process. Take your time and double-check all your measurements as you work. Ground preparation diagrams appear on pages 3, 4, and 5 in section 1 of your manual. Be sure you're using the diagram that matches your pool size. We'll be installing a 15 by 30 foot oval. Generally, you'll be placing the pool parallel to another structure, like a house or a deck. Measure out from this structure a distance of at least dimension W of your drawing. In our case, 134 inches or 340 centimeters. Using 2 metal pegs and a length of string longer than your pool, mark out the center line of your pool. Determine the position of one end of your pool and measure back from that spot along the string a distance equal to dimension S on your drawing. In our case, that's 102 inches or 259 centimeters. Place a metal peg in the ground at this point. Now measure from that peg the distance P in your drawing. That's 180 inches or 457 centimeters for our pool. Place another stake into the ground at this point. Tie one end of a piece of string around your paint can. Now measure the string from the nozzle of the can, the length found in the chart on page 6 of step 1 in your instruction guide. For our pool, it's 102 inches or 259 centimeters. Tie the string to one of the metal pegs at this length. Keeping the string taut, paint a semicircle on the ground. Now move the string to the second peg and repeat this process. Join the 2 semicircles with a straight line at their outside edges to form an oval. You can use pegs and string to mark this line and to use as a guide as you spray paint. This oval marks the approximate location of your pool. Evaluate this location now and make any adjustments to ensure the pool is in the exact location you desire. Measure to the exact center between the 2 pegs on the center line. In our case, that's 90 inches or 229 centimeters. Drive a 6-inch 2x2 stake into the ground at this point, to within an inch or 2 of the soil. Make a pencil-marked X on the top of the stake from corner to corner to mark the exact center of the stake. Replace the 2 metal pegs with wooden stakes, driving them about the same depth into the ground. Measure out from one of the 2 outside stakes a distance equal to dimension W on your layout drawing, which in our case is 134 inches or 340 centimeters. Mark this spot with a metal peg. Do the same from the other outside stake and join these pegs with a string. Using the string as a guide, spray paint along this horizontal line and join the ends with the painted circles. Repeat this process on the other side of the pool. This marks out the entire excavation area of your pool. You must remove all the sod and vegetation from this area. A sod cutter, which can be rented from your local equipment rental store, makes this task much easier. Be careful not to dislodge the 3 wooden stakes. Now check the area and remove any stones, roots, or sticks. This entire area now must be made level to within 1 inch or 25 millimeters end to end. We're using a surveyor's transit for this job, but there is an alternative method. Select a straight 2x4 of the correct length, as determined in the chart on page 7 of section 1, which in our case is 102 inches or 259 centimeters. Nail a 3 to 4 inch nail into the bottom edge of the 2x4 at one end and cut off the nail head. Place a 4-foot carpenter's level on the edge of this 2x4 and hold it in place with duct tape. Drill a small hole in the center of each stake, just large enough to accept the cut-off nail. Determine the spot of lowest elevation of the pool area and drive the stake closest to that low area down until it's flush with the ground. Insert the nail from the 2x4 into the stake, place the other end of the 2x4 on the lowest spot, and check the level. Now remove the soil from beneath the 2x4 and drive the stake into the ground until you get a level reading. Now place the end of the 2x4 on the next stake. Adjust this stake and remove soil from beneath the 2x4 until again you have a level reading. Now move the nail to the next stake. Place the 2x4 on the remaining stake and adjust that stake or remove soil from beneath the 2x4 until you have a level reading. With all your stakes at the same depth, it's time to level the rest of the earth. Place the nail in the 2x4 in any of the stakes. Swing the board around in a circle, scraping away the soil as you do, until there is a level reading. Remember, you must remove soil from higher areas, not add soil to lower areas. You can fill in small ruts or stone holes, tamping the area down firmly, but you cannot build up low areas, because this will create an unsafe foundation. When the circle is level, move the board to the next stake and repeat the process. Take your time and make sure the area is completely level. Finally, move the board to the last stake and again swing the board around, scraping away soil as you go until the area is level. Now make the wide horizontal areas of the oval level with the 3 circles. Recheck the outer 12 inches or 30 centimeters where the bottom edge of the pool wall will sit to ensure it has no high or low spots. Now we need to add corner pegs as indicated in diagram 23 on page 9 of section 1. We're using long eavesdrop nails. Use 2 measuring tapes for this step. From one of the end stakes, measure the distance of dimension X. That's 90 inches or 229 centimeters for our pool. From the center stake, measure distance Y, which for us is 127¼ inches or 323 centimeters. Where these 2 measurements intersect on the inside of the tape measures, insert a metal peg. Repeat this process from the other end stake, and then again on the other side of the pool, until you have the 4 corner pegs D, E, F, and G located. Again, measure out from one end stake the distance W, which in our case is 134 inches or 340 centimeters. Then measure out from the center stake 161½ inches or 410 centimeters. Place a peg where these measurements cross on your 2 tapes. Repeat this step to add the other 3 outer pegs. Join pegs D and E with a piece of string, and then join pegs G and F. Now across the width of the pool, join pegs H and K with a length of string, and pegs I and J, then pegs H and I, and J and K. Along the string joining pegs H and I, measure in from one of the pegs the distance that matches dimension M in the chart on page 10 of section 1. For our 15 by 30 foot pool, that's 30½ inches or 77 centimeters. Place a peg under the string at that location. Do the same using the string joining pegs J and K on the other side of the pool. Now join these two new pegs with a string. This marks the center line for the positioning of patio stones that will support the buttresses on the horizontal sides. Mark the center line for the patio stones on the other side of the horizontal area, using the same steps you just performed. A 12 by 18 pool has only one patio stone on each side. The distance between the two new sets of strings should be exactly 48 inches or 122 centimeters. However, our pool of 15 by 30 and the 18 by 33 pool require a third patio stone. To determine the center line for this patio stone, measure from the new pegs you just installed a distance equal to dimension N on the chart of page 10, which is 59.5 inches or 151 centimeters. This distance should be identical when you measure from either set of pegs. Join the new pegs with a length of string. Your layout should now look like this. Now we'll mark an area for excavating trenches to hold the patio stones. Spray along the string to mark the center line of each trench. Along the string marking the center line of each patio stone, measure out 22 inches or 56 centimeters from the pool wall line marked by the string between pegs D and E or F and G. Now measure 10 inches or 25.5 centimeters on both sides of the center line and mark the earth with a screwdriver or metal peg. Now measure out an additional 20 inches and again mark the soil 10 inches or 25.5 centimeters on both sides. Join all your marks to form a 20 by 20 inch, 51 by 51 centimeter square. Repeat this on the other side of the pool and again for all the other patio stone center lines you have marked. Temporarily remove the strings and excavate the trenches you have marked to a depth of 3 inches or 8 centimeters. Dig carefully so as to avoid disturbing the ground around the edges of the trenches. Spread crushed limestone into the excavated trenches to a depth of 1 inch or 25 millimeters. Dampen lightly with water and tamp the limestone firmly into the bottom of each trench. Place a 12 by 12 inch or 30 by 30 centimeter patio stone 2 inches or 5 centimeters thick into the center of each trench. The front edge of the patio stone should be exactly 26 inches or 66 centimeters from the pool wall line. Check to make certain the patio stone is level and exactly even with the surrounding earth. If not, remove the patio stone and adjust the limestone base until it is. Now fill the remainder of the trench with crushed limestone slightly dampened. Standing on the patio stone, tamp the limestone firmly around the patio stone. Standing on the stone will ensure it doesn't shift, but don't tamp too hard or you might cause the patio stone to move. Now we're ready for the buttress straps. Temporarily remove the strings tied to pegs D and E and F and G. Gently flatten out any kinks or bends and lay the straps across the leveled area and onto the patio stones. The end of the strap should be 2 1/4 inches or 6 centimeters from the outside edge of the patio stones. Insert 3/4 inch long machine bolts into the 4 holes at the ends of the strap from underneath. Now place a diagonal bracket over the 4 bolts, making sure the angled part of the bracket faces away from the center of the pool. Fasten the bracket tightly with 4 nuts using a 7/16 inch socket or open-end wrench. Add another bracket to the other end of the strap and then repeat these steps for all the buttress straps. Place 3/4 inch bolts through the 4 holes nearer the center of the pool, gently lifting the strap and inserting the bolts from the bottom. Place a hold-down plate over the bolt threads, making sure the wide part of the plate faces into the pool. Now place a buttress base plate over the bolts on top of the hold-down plates, with the open side of the base plate facing into the pool. Fasten tightly with 4 nuts. Now place an upright over the buttress base plate and insert 3 3/4 inch bolts through the upright and into the base plate. Fasten on the inside of the base plate with 3 nuts. Later, you'll be installing base rails into the uprights, so be careful as you tighten the nuts to ensure you have a 1/16 of an inch or 2 millimeter gap under the bottom of each upright. Holding a diagonal brace approximately horizontal with the open side down, insert the 4 tabs of the diagonal into the upright. Pull upward on the tabs, And maintaining this upward pressure to keep the tabs in place, swing the other end of the diagonal down over the diagonal bracket. Insert two 2¼ inch bolts through the holes in the diagonal and diagonal bracket and fasten with 2 nuts. Do not over-tighten these nuts. They only need to be snug enough to ensure a secure fit. Now complete the installation of all the other buttress verticals and diagonals. Your center strap will cross the center peg. Dig this up, fill in the hole, and tamp down firmly. Replace the strings between pegs D and E and F and G. Use the strings to make sure the buttress uprights are all aligned with each other. The string should barely touch the inside edge of each vertical. If you have more than one vertical on each side, find the curved buttress rails, which are color-coded or identified by part number specifically for your pool size. For all pool sizes, except the 12 by 18, you have been supplied resin rail supports. Slide a rail support into the middle of each buttress rail. The tall bracket of the rail support slides into the groove of the buttress rail. Now insert a buttress rail with rail support installed between each set of uprights. Notice that the closed square side of the rail, not the grooved side, slides into the notch at each buttress upright. Standing on the end of the hold-down plates, fill all the voids on the outside edge of the plate with soil, sand, or crushed limestone. Be sure the end of the hold-down plate lies flat on the ground. Filling these voids will prevent low spots forming around the hold-down plates when the pool is filled with water. Place a sheet of plastic approximately 15 by 15 inches or 36 by 36 centimeters over the ends of the hold-down plates. You can keep this in place with small pieces of duct tape. Now remove all the strings and pegs in preparation for adding the remaining base rails and base plates, but leave the wooden stakes in place for now. Locate the transition rails. These are color-coded or identified by part number specifically for your pool size. The transition rails are the first rails that attach to the buttress verticals on the round ends of the pool. Pry the notched end of these rails open slightly with a screwdriver. Again, slide the closed square end of the rail into the notch in the vertical with the grooved side up. At the other end of the transition rail, add a base plate with the wide side of the plate facing away from the pool. Insert an end rail into the other side of the plate. These rails are identified by part number. Leave a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter gap between the rails. Cut several short pieces of wood and place them temporarily between the rails to maintain this gap. When you have all the base rails and base plates installed, attach a piece of string to one of the end stakes. Measure and mark the string at the length of dimension R in your diagram, which is 90 inches or 229 centimeters in our case. Use the string to check that the face of each base plate is the same distance from the stakes. Using a square or round patio stone at least 12 inches or 30 centimeters wide centered over each base plate, mark the soil. Now remove the base rail at the round end of the pool from the end verticals and set it aside. Excavate the areas you've marked to a depth of 3 inches or 8 centimeters. Fill the bottom with 1 inch or 25 millimeters of crushed limestone, slightly dampened and tamped down tightly. Place a patio stone on top of the limestone, ensuring it's level and even with the surrounding soil. Fill the area around the patio stone and tamp down tightly. As an alternative, you can fill these trenches completely with crushed limestone, tightly tamped, provided it's level and even with the surrounding soil. Finally, check between each patio stone or limestone pad with a 2x4 and carpenter's level or your surveyor's transit to ensure all the stones are level with each other. Now replace the bottom rail, again checking the distance to the face of each base plate. Remove the wooden stakes and fill the holes with soil, tamping it down tightly. If you are using sand for your pool bottom, spread enough sand over the area to cover the bottom to a depth of about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, but don't bring it right up to the base rails at this time. You can use 1 inch or 1.5 inch, 25 or 38 millimeter thick styrofoam sheets for a pool bottom. Spread the sheets over the area inside the base rails. Slide the styrofoam under the base rails and use the curve of the rails to mark the sheets for cutting. The styrofoam can be cut with an X-Acto knife or small hand saw. Number the sheets so you can reassemble them later and remove them until the pool wall is installed. Just before you begin assembling the pool wall, carefully unpack the liner and spread it out in a protected area in the sun. This will help you remove any wrinkles later, but be careful not to leave it too long or it could scorch the grass underneath it. Place a large sheet of cardboard or square of plywood in the center of the pool area and place the rolled up pool wall on it. Be sure to look for the "this way up" arrow. Cut the packing strap, being careful not to scratch the pool wall, and begin uncoiling the roll. This will make it easier to handle and install. Do not attempt to install the pool wall on a windy day, and if possible, get several neighbors or friends to help. Uncoil the wall until you reveal the skimmer cutouts. Ensure the skimmer is on one of the round ends directly across from the most prevalent wind direction. The end of the wall must be placed directly over one of the base plates in order to hide the wall seam behind an upright. Slide the wall edge into the groove in the base rail. You can temporarily hold the wall end in place by placing a stepladder over the wall and duct taping the wall to the ladder. As you install a section of the pool wall, cover the top edge with slotted tubes. Be sure to use a buttress tube over the rails between buttresses. These are color-coded or identified by part number specifically for your pool size. Use transition tubes over the transition base rails and end tubes over the end rails. These tubes are color-coded or identified by part number. Slide a slotted tube connector over the end of the slotted tube and slide the next tube into the other end of the connector, leaving a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter gap between each tube. Make sure the gap is directly above the base plate. At the buttress verticals, the space between the transition tube and buttress tubes, or between two buttress tubes, will be about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. These are joined using a plastic tube connector, which is inserted into the ends of the transition and buttress tubes. Duct tape the pool wall to the uprights temporarily to help hold the wall in place. Continue uncoiling the wall, moving the cardboard or plywood as necessary, and continuing to add slotted tubes and slotted tube connectors on the top edge. When you reach the end, you may find the pool wall overlaps or doesn't quite meet. If the wall overlaps, remove the wood pieces and tap gently at the base plates on the round ends from the inside of the pool to make the semicircles larger. If the wall doesn't meet, tap the base plates on the round ends from the outside to make the semicircles smaller. Place a screwdriver through 2 of the holes near the top and bottom to help bring the wall into alignment. Join the ends of the pool wall with a bolt and nut through each hole. Insert the bolts from inside the pool and install the nuts on the outside. Tighten each nut and bolt securely, being careful not to strip the bolt heads, which could leave a metal burr and damage your liner. Cover the bolt heads with duct tape. Now check whether the wall is level. You can do this with your transit or with a line level. The entire pool must be level to within 1 inch or 25 millimeters. If it's not, you must take the wall apart and re-level the foundation before proceeding. Now recheck each base plate. It must be centered on a patio stone or limestone pad, and the base rails should meet in the center of this plate and be about 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters apart. Recheck the slotted tubes to ensure they are about 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters apart and are joined with a slotted tube connector centered over a base plate. You can ensure they stay in place by taping the connectors and tubes to the pool wall with a short length of duct tape. If you are using styrofoam for your pool bottom, reinstall the pieces now and cover all the seams where the styrofoam sheets meet with strips of duct tape. If you are using sand, smooth it out right up to the base rails and tamp it down slightly to produce a smooth, level surface. Whether you use sand or styrofoam, you must construct a cove of brick sand around the inside bottom of the pool wall. This is an important part of the pool structure because it redistributes the pressure of the water on the bottom edge of the pool wall. The cove should be about 8 inches or 20 centimeters wide and 6 inches or 15 centimeters high. Where the buttress uprights make the pool wall scallop slightly, this cove will be a little narrower and a little shorter to maintain the horizontal line of the cove. Pack the brick sand firmly into shape and smooth it out evenly. Before installing the liner, you must install the wall saver gasket in the skimmer cutout. This gasket is an important watertight seal around the skimmer and provides protection against corrosion. Spread the two layers of the gasket apart gently and insert it into the skimmer so that it sandwiches the pool wall. Be careful not to damage the seam, or you'll have to get a replacement from your pool dealer. Here's a great hint to help make installing the liner easier. Place a piece of cardboard over the wall saver gasket on the outside of the pool and seal it in place with duct tape. Thread the hose of a shop vac through the skimmer return hole until it's 6 inches or 15 centimeters above the top edge of the cove. Seal the skimmer return hole with duct tape. Fold up the pool liner and place it carefully over the pool wall. You'll require several lengths of plastic coping, which you'll find in your pool kit. Start draping the vinyl liner over the pool wall and hold it in place by pressing down several inches of the plastic coping. Continue around the pool, draping the liner over the wall and adding the plastic coping until you have the entire liner in place. Now start the shop vac. What this does is draw the air out from between the liner and the wall, allowing you to more easily position the liner and remove the wrinkles. Using a soft bristled broom, tap lightly on the liner until you have the bottom seam positioned evenly on top of the sand cove. When most of the wrinkles are gone and the liner is in the correct position, begin filling the pool with enough water to cover the bottom only to a depth of about 1 foot or 30 centimeters. Shut off the vacuum, remove the hose, and unseal the skimmer and skimmer return. Starting one piece at a time, remove the coping, smooth out the liner, and reinstall the coping along its entire length. Continue working around the pool, smoothing out the wrinkles, adjusting the liner, and installing the coping. When you reach the end, carefully trim off any excess coping so there is no overlap. Roll up any liner that hangs below the coping, rolling to the inside as shown. This will prevent water being trapped in the rolled up liner, which could cause unwelcome odors. Tape the rolled up liner in place with small pieces of duct tape. Make sure you do not trim or cut off the excess liner. Select a vertical column from your parts kit. The top of the column has 3 drilled holes, while the bottom has only 2. Press the bottom of the column over the 2 small tabs on the base plate. Line up the screw holes and fasten in place with 2 self-tapping screws. Your pool is supplied with 2 styles of top plates. The rectangular plate goes over a buttress vertical, while the triangular one goes over the regular verticals like the one you just installed. Using the pattern on the pool wall or a level, make sure the columns are straight up and down. Hook the top plate over the edge of the pool wall and press it down over the vertical so the tabs are on the inside of the vertical. Fasten the top plate with 3 self-tapping screws. Add a vertical to each base plate. Now add the top plates over the buttress verticals by hooking the plate over the pool rail and pressing it down over the vertical with the tabs of the plate over top of the column. Ensure the column is vertical and fasten the plate with 3 self-tapping screws. There are 4 top rails to your pool that are a slightly different shape and are marked underneath with a red dot. These are the transition rails and are installed as the first top rail on each round end between a buttress vertical and a regular vertical column. The buttress top plates have a series of holes marked A and B. Only the transition rail is fastened to the buttress top plate through the holes marked B. Buttress rails are fastened through the holes marked A. Secure with 2 self-tapping screws, but do not tighten any of them fully just yet. Install the buttress rails first, and then the transition rails, before installing all the other top rails. Once you have all the top rails loosely fastened in place, adjust the rails to line up evenly about 1/16 inch or 2 millimeters apart and tighten the screws securely. Hook a top connector over the inside edge of the top rail and press the connector down over the rail, snapping the tabs under the outer edge. Now fill your pool completely to within 2 inches or 5 centimeters of the lowest skimmer opening and follow the instructions which came with your skimmer, pump, and filter kits. As an important safety measure, apply the 4 no diving, no jumping labels that have been supplied with your kit to the top rails. spread them evenly around the pool. Post the vinyl safety sign that has also been supplied so that it is visible at the point of entry of your pool. Congratulations on your successful installation of an Atlantic Channel Lock 2 above ground pool.